Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's Profit Maximize Movement. My name is Wayne Belisle. I'm a local CPA in El Paso, Texas. Been doing this a lot longer than I want to think about. Anyways, this week we're going to talk about not a favorite subject. What is a mistake just about every business I've worked with commit when the business starts to downturn? Sales aren't coming in the way they should. You're starting to panic. Um, we got It could be a general economy downturn, could be just a bad quarter, could be a new competitor coming into town, could be you lost a key salesperson, or I've had all kinds of things. One of my businesses had a key employee left and opened up a competing business. I can talk. Every time though, it seems like the same move happens. Things get a little tighter. Business owner looks for things to cut, and marketing seems to be the one they cut first, almost always. Why? It's optional. It's not always measurable, but I can see how much I cut, so that's measurable. I can turn it off today, turn it back on later, right? No. To quote the Admiral, whatever, Akbar and Star Wars, it's trapped. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need him to tell him why. Because nothing falls today. We don't see it. Okay. We notice the difference month 3, 4, 5, 6 down the road. And truthfully, by the time we start to see that things have gotten worse instead of better, temporarily they got better because I cut some costs. But the economy may be recovering. We've reacted, but sales still have either continued to drop or at best came back when they should have gotten better because the economy's picked up. Look, pulling back on marketing when things get tight is like turning off the engine to save gas. You don't save anything. You just stop moving, which is always a problem. Look, marketing is an easy target because it's measurable. You can see what you spend clearly. All right. It's optional in the short term. Nothing breaks today or tomorrow. All right. It's intangible. Don't always know what it's bringing in. I can't point to something and say normally, not everybody, you should be able to, but not everybody, and say that marketing is bringing in that $1,000 I spent there is bringing in 5,000 in sales. Sometimes I can't do that. All right. It's the easiest and sometimes newest line for the owners to look at. They ran the business honestly without it for years because when you first started off, it was probably word of mouth. You weren't really doing a lot of marketing. So this is an easy one. So, and truthfully, that's a mistake I also see. If you're going to start, this is an aside, got nothing to do with this, but if you're going to start marketing, and you got to be committed to it for 6 months at least, a year better, before you can decide if it works. Look, everything looks like it's safe to trim. I can get rid of it. Unfortunately, none of it is true. All right. Marketing is not an expense. It really isn't. Marketing is what gets customers to your business. Remember, I've said this before, a business without customers is called a hobby. And I've learned the hard way that there's a ton of different ways to do marketing. When you're first starting off, guerrilla marketing is an old book, but still a good one. That's worth looking at so you get some ideas of ways to do things without spending a lot of money. But as you grow, you start to have a process in place. You want to have more prospects coming in. The profit formula that I put together that I discuss in my course, which is coming up May 13th. If you want to be in it, shoot me an email or send me a text, a DM, whatever. Just let me know you're interested and I'll get back at you. But one of the things we talk about is a profit formula. And the very first thing it starts with is converting more of your prospects. Well, in reality, it starts with one step before that, getting prospects. And that's what marketing does, is bringing in prospects. So what makes this so dangerous? Well, because the damage doesn't happen right away. I turn off the marketing. All I know is I saved $1,000, 5,000, 20,000, 50, whatever the amount you're spending on marketing. But I don't see exactly, a real drop in sales right off the bat. All right. It takes time. And that's like month one, I'm looking at, hey, that was a smart move. I didn't do anything wrong. Month two, yeah, slowing down a little bit, but I still have work, so no big deal. I did the right thing. All right. Month three, new leads are noticeably down. Here's the problem. Very few businesses actually track the prospects and the new leads that come in. So if you're not tracking it, you don't even notice that in month three. Little note I just said, should be tracking. All right. Should be tracking what comes in, especially if you're in a retail wholesale type thing. But any business, you need to keep track of your prospects. Okay. You're starting to notice now, the owner's starting to get nervous. Months 4 and 5, pipeline's dry. I finished all the work that I had piled up, and now there's nothing on the horizon. And there's nothing worse, especially if you're in the contracting area, than looking at the board and seeing, because a lot of them track it on a whiteboard, and seeing ain't nothing there. Here's the jobs that I already got awarded and I'm working on. Here's the ones I've completed. Here's the board that says upcoming, or or you know a bid pending, and it's blank. So that's the problem. Your revenues drop, owners panic and tries to turn the marketing back on. Truth of the matter is, it took 5 months to notice, 5 to 6 months to notice it was turned off. Probably, unfortunately, it's going to take another 5 to 6 months to notice it got turned back on. I mean, you haven't been marketing for over a half a year. It costs a lot to restart, not just in dollars, but in time. I mean, you're gonna have to pick up the phone, you're gonna have to go talk to people, you're gonna have to get your butt out of the chair, get out of the office and try to beat the bushes. And there's no worse time to look for work than when you're desperate, because your customers can smell desperation and they're gonna beat you up on the price. It's as simple as that. So the reason cutting marketing is so common is the damage shows up long after the decision is made. And sometimes you don't connect the two because you forgot. All right. So what should I do instead? All right. I just noticed hell, let's talk about COVID. COVID hit. What was I going to do? What did our customers do? I've gone through a few of these: 2008, the financial collapse; 2001, the dot-com collapse. Almost forgot what that one was. We're bound to have another one. It happens. It's cyclical. I can go back farther because I'm old fart, but we'll stop with those three. Anyways, you don't have to make a choice between just keep marketing 100% or stopping it down all the way. Sometimes you just cut a little and cut smartly. All right. But to do that, you have to know what your return on investment is on each one of the marketing channels you're using. And one of the simplest things is to always ask, no matter what your business is, any new customer, how they found out about you. I do that 100% when somebody new comes in. Hey, and I ask in a way, who can I thank for sending you to us? Or how did you find this? It doesn't matter. And then keep track of that. I've noticed over the last 5 to 6 years, I used to be 80, 90% referrals, and now the rest was, small amount saw a sign on my street. Well, it's close. Very few. That still is very few. The rest, that another 18% probably was social media. In the last 5 years, I'd say this last year is 50-50, 50% referrals and 50% social media. And to be honest with you, I'm not doing a good job on referrals because I didn't have the bandwidth, but I do now, so we're going to push on that. So sorry, forgot to put that on do not disturb. So what do we do instead? Well, if I know my ROI, if I have an idea of where my new prospects are coming from, then I know what to not touch. All right. My social media is going to have to work. Referrals, I haven't done a good job on referrals. That's not entirely true, because the biggest thing you do on referrals is do a good job. And we've done that. All right. So we protect what's working. If you have an email program and it's working, keep doing it. All right. You don't touch the emails. And how do you know that? Well, the email has a call to action with a specific code. Maybe you're doing TV ads. Make sure that you have. We did this with a newspaper. When we were doing newsletters and newspapers for a client, we had a code, so we knew which newspaper was working. if we were running in multiple newspapers. Yes, it's old now. We're not doing that. But you can do that with Google Ads too. You can do it with anything you're doing an ad on. Just have a discount code that's slightly different. So again, protect what's working, tighten what's not proven. If you're doing some experiments on a new channel of advertising, stop for a little while. You know, don't don't move. Keep the working channels moving. Shift again. Don't shift. Don't slash. All right. Um, Move dollars from expensive channels to cheaper ones before you cut total spending. Uh, Also, cut somewhere else. You know, cut somewhere else, some other expense, and move it into channels of advertising that are working. Because at some point you'll turn it around. You know, we talk about, if you're, one of the things I have in the book, if you're having a serious problem, and we're going to cover this in the course, it's not one thing. It didn't just happen. There's a bunch of reasons, and that's why we have a 90-day course, and then we follow it up with a 1-year profit plan, because you got to fix the problem first. But I'm hurting now. I need cash now. Well, we cover that in the course too. All right. If I need cash now, what to do? All right. So using the idea, like I said, is to shift slash, not slash. Use the profit first so that you figure out what money you have available for marketing. Sometimes you have to cut your idea of profit. Sometimes, like when COVID hit, the idea was more along the lines of survival. Not for long. All right, maybe 2, 3, 4 months, let the dust settle, see what's going on, and then adjust. Okay, remember, the difference is you're making a decision based on data with clarity, not just seat of the pants, and not just this is my best guess. I think this is what's working. All right. Just, you still have the same problem. You just have a different outcome is what it comes down to. So remember, tightening marketing with the intention of keeping the engine running. That's what you want to do. Pulling back makes the whole engine of your marketing shut down and stall. So let's recap. All right. When things get tight, marketing looks like the obvious move to trim. Almost always a mistake. The damage is delayed, which make it feel like it's safe. Remember, I told you that. But the truth of the matter is, your pipeline is slowing down, and now all of a sudden you're in trouble. All right. Now maybe you're lucky, like I am. I'm in a business where the IRS kind of puts a deadline on. But I've be honest, I've had tons of different things change in the 30 plus years we've run this business. It's not at all the same. Other competitors have come out, online stuff has come out, um, uh, everything. So you're always adapting, but that's not for this video. Look, the fix isn't to spend more. The fix is to know what's working so that you can protect it and tighten the rest on purpose. So again, going back to, you have to know what works. If you don't know your marketing is working, then you don't want, what's an old saying? I'm trying to remember this one. I think it was P.T. Barnum that said half my advertising is working. I just don't know which half. That better not be you. And in today's world, it really isn't necessary. They're on Google ads and things like that. You can run email, and you should know what's working, what's not. So if you're sitting there with your numbers trying to figure out what to protect and what to tighten, that's the kind of conversation I'd love to have with you. I think the course would be a good idea too. But I'm willing to spend 30 minutes having a clarity call with you to look at it and see what I see. Because I've been doing this long enough with a whole vast majority, a ton of businesses and a ton of different industries. That's the only one of the few advantages of getting older, is the gray hair comes with experience. Okay. So if you think you want some help, go to waynebelisle.com/clarity. So Wayne Belisle, my last name, it should be on the screen. Screen, BELISLE.com/clarity, CLARITY, for those of us who are spelling. If we didn't have spell checker, we'd be in serious trouble. And until next time, this is Wayne Belisle saying, let's make this our most profitable year ever. God bless, and have a great weekend, and see you in church. Take care.